The stock market last week was crazy. Am I the only one that felt like they were missing out because I did not buy any GameStop stock? Although I didn't buy any GameStop, in this video, I'm going to discuss why I made a YOLO purchase of Dogecoin, which I had actually never heard of until the day that I bought it. You just gotta get started. Welcome to my channel. I'm Harlan D. White, and on my channel, I'm documenting my journey of eliminating almost $50,000 in debt and sharing lessons learned along the way. If you're interested in an update on my debt-free journey and a summary of my January spending, I'll have that at the end of this video. All right, so let's jump into it. This video is definitely for entertainment purposes only and is not financial advice. So what is Dogecoin? Dogecoin is a type of cryptocurrency that was created in 2013, very similar to the more popular Bitcoin. And at the time of this recording, one Dogecoin is worth a couple cents, whereas one Bitcoin is worth somewhere in the $34,000 range. Both fluctuate a lot, so who knows what it's going to be tomorrow. So where in the world did the idea of buying Dogecoin come from? I blame Meet Kevin. Just joking, I do not blame Meet Kevin. However, I was watching Meet Kevin's all-day live stream where he was covering the news on what was going on with the Reddit forum Wall Street Bets and GameStop and AMC and all the issues with Robinhood. And at some point, someone in the live stream comment section suggested that Meet Kevin buy some Dogecoin. And part of the reasoning behind that was Dogecoin was another item that was mentioned by Wall Street's Bets, similar to how GameStop was mentioned by Wall Street Bets. So Meet Kevin proceeded to buy $25,000 worth of Dogecoin. And he definitely wasn't advising that anyone else do it, but it was his birthday and he figured, let's see what happens. And so that's probably great for Meet Kevin who can do that because his net worth is probably in the millions. But why in the world did I decide to buy Dogecoin? Well, like I mentioned at the start of this video, I was seeing all the excitement going on around GameStop and AMC and other stocks, and I wish that I could take part in the action. The one small problem is that I have very little extra cash. However, on Monday last week, I ended up opening up a Robinhood account to take advantage of an offer to get 4 free stocks. And at the time when I opened up the account, I moved over $25. So as a result, earlier in the day, I tried to buy some AMC stock because it was down to like $7. However, Robinhood wouldn't allow you to buy new shares of AMC. About an hour or so after Meet Kevin had made that purchase of Dogecoin, Elon Musk proceeded to tweet about Dogecoin. And it seems like every time he tweets about an item, the price of that item jumps up. And so as a result, since I couldn't buy AMC, I figured, what the heck, I might as well try to buy some Dogecoin. It was only $25. And so around the 5 o'clock time frame, I decided to go ahead and purchase 910 Dogecoins, and the total investment was $24.97. And then around 11 o'clock that night, when I looked at my Robinhood, that $24.97 had grown to $70.05. I don't know for sure, but it might have went up a little bit higher than that, but that's what I was able to get a screenshot of. And then to back up real quickly, right after I had bought my initial Dogecoin, maybe about an hour later, I decided to move over an additional $100. Basically, just in case I wanted to make any investments the next day, which I thought was going to be possible because at the time, Robinhood offered instant deposits. And so when the next day came around, unlike Meet Kevin, who sold his $25,000 worth of Dogecoin for $72,000, I still had my Dogecoin sitting there. And based on what I've seen in the news, I realized that cryptocurrencies jump up and they jump down and it's very volatile. However, I was looking at potentially buying some more Dogecoin on Friday. However, because of the volatility of cryptocurrency, Robinhood wouldn't allow instant deposits for purchase of cryptocurrency. And I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but as a result, I was not able to buy any more Dogecoin. However, I do suspect that other people had moved money into their Robinhood accounts with the same expectation of buying Dogecoin the next day as well. And because they were unable to access that money that they had moved over to buy Dogecoin, the price of the Dogecoin went down. At least that's my theory. And as a result, my $24 that had went up to $70 at some point while I'm recording this had went all the way down to $21. But again, like I said, it's very volatile, so I am interested to see what happens next week. So on my channel, I'm definitely heavily focused on encouraging people to budget and get out of debt. And it's not a channel around cryptocurrencies or investing in the stock market, but it was a very interesting experience that I did want to share. Let me know in the comment section below whether or not you bought any GameStop or ANC or any of the other crazy stocks, or if you too actually bought some Dogecoin last week. And in fact, last week I talked about my new budget categories. And because of me opening up the Robinhood account, I had to create a new budget category called trading because I would not consider this investing. And as you'll see in the next part, when I go through my January spending, it was a very small percentage of spend. If you have any questions for me, definitely leave them in the comment section below. And now let's transition into an update on my debt-free journey, as well as an overview of my January spending. All right, so here's my debt-free journey update. Since last week, I've reduced my debt by $98. And the funny thing is that I did not intend to put any money towards my debt this past week. However, I decided if I can put money into buying Dogecoin, I can also put money towards paying off my debt. And so instead of putting an extra $100 towards my emergency fund, I decided to use that money to put it towards paying down my IRS bill. Additionally, a few other things happened last week that made me confident in my decision to put money into the Robinhood account. The first thing was that I did have $62 that was sitting in miscellaneous because I wasn't sure if I was going to get a loan back, and I did get that money back. The second thing that occurred was that I had received a $60 refund for a powerlifting meet that had gotten canceled. And lastly, in October of 2020, I had switched car insurance companies. And as a result, I was able to reduce my monthly car payments from somewhere around $320 to $167. And since that point in time, I've been waiting for a refund check that never showed up, and I had requested that they resend it twice. Well, last week I was able to reach out to my old landlord to check with the new tenants to see whether or not they had received any mail. And come to find out, they did have my checks, and so he ended up putting them in the mail last week. And so I'm expecting another $300 to come in next week as a result of this refund check. With all that being said, my remaining debt is $20,810. And the total debt that I've been able to reduce since May of 2020 is $28,858. All right, so let's quickly take a look at where my money was spent in January of 2021. All right, so here's my spending overview for the month of January. Last year, I didn't spend much time looking at reports, but earlier this month, I did change around how I set up my budget categories. And so this year, I do want to spend much more time looking into the reporting to see exactly where all of my spending is going month to month. So as I go on through the year, I anticipate that I'll be able to gain more insight into my spending habits and thus change them to improve or accelerate my debt-free journey. So then I can focus on building wealth. All right, so as you can see, the bulk of my money went towards the family category at 34%. However, right behind that, my next largest spend is towards paying off debt. Back in the July timeframe, I set a goal for myself to put at least $1,500 each and every single month towards paying off debt. And in just about every month, I've been able to exceed that goal target. As you can see here, this month I've been able to put $1,700 towards my debt. However, one of my top 3 financial goals for 2021 is to be completely debt-free by the end of this year. And in order for me to do that, I do need to pay more than $1,500 per month. But let's quickly take a look at where the rest of my money went this month. All right, so my next category is utilities, which makes up 8% of my spend. Pretty much what's in my utilities category is internet and my cell phone bill. I have 3 other people on my cell phone plan. Housing is 7%. Pretty much for me, all that is rent. Next is food, which makes up 4%. And in my food, it categorizes alcohol spend, groceries, and eating out. The next area is around content creation, things that I use to help me with YouTube and social media type things, and that makes up 3%. 3% was also spent on my transportation category. And pretty much what this is I had to get a new registration for this year. And so that's my transportation spend for this month because I did not have to put any money towards gas. The next area is around insurance, and that is just my car insurance. Next is giving, where I put 3% towards giving, and that includes both charity as well as giving in terms of presents or to other people. The next area is around trading, and this is my whole Robinhood activity for last week, where I moved over $125 into my Robinhood account, and it accounts for 2% of my spend for this month. And the next area is around personal items, which makes up about 1% of the spend for this particular month. And within that, it includes purchases that I made for apps, technology, and then just other personal care items. And then basically, the remaining items that I had spent on for the month is fitness, which is pretty much my gym membership, education, which goes to Audible or ebooks. Miscellaneous, I ended up not spending any money in the miscellaneous category. And then the savings that you see here is basically tracking my cashback rewards for the month. So that's pretty much it. All right, and so that's the video. Hopefully you found some value out of the video. If you like the video, please make sure you like the video. And if you're interested in more content like this from me, please consider subscribing and hitting that notification bell to be notified of future videos. Until next time. Over 2 cents per Dogecoin, which for net, and come to find out that they